Yes, guys, welcome back to Palace Mad Mason. Today is a little bit of a different video. This is the live stream for the preview. Yes, preview. The last time I did a preview was on the first days of my channel, but I decided to bring it back just for one time only for Brighton against Crystal Palace at the Amex Stadium tomorrow night. Now, just as a little bit of an overview. I feel very, how should I put it? Let's say nervous about this game. I do feel very nervous for this result because, I think it is season defining, as it says in the title. I just think that, I think this is the end for Patrick Vieira if we don't get the result against Brighton tomorrow night. To me, that is just the way it's shaping up at this moment in time. I genuinely believe that if Patrick Vieira doesn't get the best out of his players, doesn't play the best team that he can possibly play with the little players that he has, I think that he just has to go. My opinions on Patrick Vieira don't change, even though I've not just come off the back of a result or anything like that. I just think that we are a poor side, first of all, with a very low set of players in terms of numbers. And we're just a poor footballing side where players want to play for themselves and not for the team or the manager. Which is why I'm fearful that even if we do get rid of Vieira, the performances ain't going to change. You've seen other teams this season when Nathan Jones left Southampton, their new manager came in, all right, they're still bottom of the league, but they've been getting results. Bournemouth have been getting results under Gary O'Neill. Leeds have been getting results kind of under Javi Gracia. But you look at their squads and you're like, you know what, they've got a decent squad behind them. I'm not saying that our squad isn't full of talent. However, I'm just saying that it's not what we're looking for in terms of a Crystal Palace team. So without further ado, I'm going to open up my laptop to have a look at some stats going into the game, looking at the team news, looking at what Patrick Vieira has to say for tomorrow's game, because I think he knows and we know that this could be the final straw for him. Because personally, if we get battered tomorrow, I don't want him in the job for Arsenal, because against Arsenal we want to be completely defensive and try and settle for a 0-0 against Arsenal. Honestly, if we set up for a 0-0 against Arsenal, then that'll be okay for me. That'll be ample for me at this moment in time. I really do. I really do think so. Kean Dixon, first comment will highlight that, mate. We're getting relegated now, mate. Do you think I'm being ultra positive and playing devil's advocate? Do you think that, if we got rid of Vieira with the next couple of games coming up after Arsenal, after the national break, do you think if we got rid of Vieira it would change, or do you think it's going to be the same performances from here until the end of the season? Because at the end of the day, like I was saying before, before you come on, is that I just don't think that. You look at other managers, you look at other clubs. Southampton got rid of Nathan Jones, Leeds got rid of Jesse Marsh. Javi Gracia and Southampton's new manager have been getting results since they've gone. I just don't think that if Palace got rid of Vieira, I don't think performances would change. And this is what's concerning me for the season. And we've still got fans saying to calm down. Still got fans saying that everything's going to be all right. I just don't think that's going to be. I don't think it's going to be fine this time. I really don't. A lot of times I've over exaggerated it and said we're going down when I don't think we actually are. But this time I think we will. Going to highlight your next one. It will be probably the same, but we need to invest in a few players around. Yeah, we've said for years that we need to invest in players, mate, and it never ever happens. A lot of people have been highlighting Vieira, but we need to highlight the board as well, because the board are the problem. on a bigger scale, because they don't invest in the players that Patrick Vieira can utilise. But the one thing that's wrong with Vieira is that he's making wrong decisions with a small squad. So if we brought in new players, he'd make even more mistakes, if you get what I mean. So it looks like I'm turning my back on you. Actually, let me just unplug the laptop so I can face the camera while typing. So let's have a look at Brighton. I'm not in the usual Palace shirt, by the way. I'm normally in the other one, but this is the one that I have available for today. Brighton versus Crystal Palace tomorrow at 7:30. Preview. It should be on Sky Sports by now. Okay, this is good. This is good, right? Sky Sports 6 hours ago. Here we go. I've noticed in a lot of games we don't start a striker in games where we need to. Yeah, to be honest with you, mate, I can agree with you on that one, because I don't think Jordan Ayew is a striker. Under Roy Hodgson's system, I think Jordan Ayew worked really well as a striker. I just think that Patrick Vieira has relied on the old system to work, even though Patrick Vieira has a completely different game style to what Roy had. And that's just down to the players that he had. Right. 6 hours ago on Sky News, Patrick Vieira calls time amid 11-game winless run and addresses Wilfried Zaha's future. Right, okay. Okay, right. Palace are currently on 11-game winless run in all competitions, have just taken 5 points from their last 10 Premier League games, resulting in being dragged into a relegation battle. Even Sky Sports have admitted that we're in a relegation battle. This isn't just me being ultra negative. It's not Tristan being negative. It's not Eagle Eye Football being negative. This is Sky Sports saying that Palace as a whole in a relegation battle. And it's as simple as that. 5 points clear with the games we've still got left. We've still got to play Brighton. We've still got to play Arsenal. We've still got to play Tottenham again. It's not looking good at all. This is right. This is the most embarrassing set of stats of them all, right? Before the World Cup, we was averaging to about 1 goal per game. Now, after the World Cup, we are predicted to score 0.5 goals a game. So obviously we've barely scored. We've got less expected goals, the same amount of goals conceded, pretty much. Expected goals conceded after the World Cup is higher, and we've got much less possession this time around than we did before the World Cup. And this is what's really concerning me, is this part here, the possession percentage. Because under Vieira, especially when we had Gallagher, we kept possession a lot more than what we did under Roy. Now it's just right. This is what Vieira has come out and said himself. The table doesn't lie. We need to win games, and to do that, we need to play better and score goals. I believe we have the quality to improve. Now, he's talking like he's got a long time to turn this around. He hasn't. He's got just over 2 months to save us from relegation. He's got 2 months to save us this season. Right, Vieira's current struggles may well leave last season feeling like a distant memory. Well, it really does. But a 2021-22 campaign saw the former Arsenal and Man City midfielder receiving acclaim for the way he helped introduce a more attractive style of football since Roy Hodgson left the club. Vieira took Palace 12th last season in an FA Cup semi-final, and we finished 13 points clear of relegation. But look, against Brighton, right, let's face it, against Brighton at home, we were so lucky to get a point from them. They should have waltzed for us easily. They could have been 1, 2, even 3 up at half time. It was because of that disallowed goal gave us this little bit of momentum, and a mistake in the second half from their goalkeeper really got us the thing, right? There's only been 4 Palace players this season who have scored more than 1 goal this season, and they are Wilf, Eze, Elise and Edouard. How embarrassing is that? The fact that Edouard and Elise typically are on the bench, but they've still scored more than the likes of Jordan Ayew, John-Philip Mateta, Jeffrey Schlupp. I'm not going to call out the two players that we've signed. Personally, I'd say the board has to make a decision on his future before the Spurs game. Mate, the Spurs game's at the start of May. We have to, make a decision on his future before then. You can't get rid of a manager with 3 games left. Otherwise, you'll be doing what Watford done. Watford got rid of Nigel Pearson when they were doing all right in a relegation battle. Got rid of him with 2 games to go, and he ended up going down. So, Patrick Vieira says Crystal Palace will do all they can to keep Wilfried Zaha at the club. It's embarrassing how desperate we've got to keep one man. Because, it's very obvious that that Zaha does not want to stay at his club no more. And I don't blame him. When he came back to the club in 2014, we've basically made no progression since in terms of league finish, in terms of club status. We're still a relegation contender / mid-table team. Zaha's in his 30s now. He's in the last 10 years of his career. If I was Wilf and I was being offered to play alongside Cristiano Ronaldo in the Saudi League, I would take it considering the club that he's at right now. I know he's probably got Crystal Palace in his heart and he always will. But at the end of the day, it just concerns me how... Use the guy we sent on loan to Charlton when he looks good on loan. You mean Jezran Raksaki? This is another criticism that I had of Vieira. When Patrick Vieira came into Crystal Palace back in 2021, he said that he'd give the youth a chance. Well, if you total up the amount of minutes he's given young youth players in our first team, it's laughable. I think Roy gave the players more game time. Remember, Roy Hodgson was at Palace for 4 years. Vieira's been here nearly 2. I think Roy played Mitchell for all that time. That's a big boost in itself. Patrick Vieira gave Adramola 45 minutes against Stoke in the FA Cup last season, brought him off the pitch when he wasn't playing that badly, gave Raksaki the first half against United. Gave Raksaki the first half against Man United, which was poor because, Raksaki weren't playing that bad. And then he brought on Ebiowe for 5 minutes against Arsenal. He brought on Raksaki for about 5 minutes against Everton. And he brought on Ebiowe to take a pressure penalty in the Carabao Cup, and that's why we got knocked out of that. It doesn't look very good. It doesn't look very good for the great youth system that we're supposed to have in this football club. It just doesn't make sense to me. It does not make sense to me how, we've got a great youth system. One of Vieira's main priorities was to give the youth a chance, and he's just whacked them all out on loan to lower league clubs or in different countries. Why hasn't he fought? The only player that he's trying to fight to keep at the club is the player that every single manager is before him has fought to keep in the club. Neil Warnock signed him, for God's sake. Since then, we've had Alan Pardew. He fought to keep him. Sam Allardyce, for that window, fought to keep him. Roy fought to keep him. Even De Boer, when he was at the club for, 1 or 2 months, fought to keep Wilfried Zaha within this club. It's just embarrassing how we still rely on one man after 10 years. But nothing I say will ever change. It's just my opinion at the end of the day. But I'm sure that a lot of Palace fans have similar, if not identical, views on that. Right, so there is no actual team news for this. If I look at this, Vieira calls for time. He calls for time amid winless run, and Zaha's future's in his hands. Now, Palace fans who are watching, there's only 2 people watching, but please respond if you're listening. I genuinely believe that if we went down, it would take ages for us to come back. It would take forever for us to come back into the Premier League. Throughout the playoffs, throughout automatic playoffs, it would take a long time because a lot of the players that are in this team would just leave. You've got players with potential in this team. You've got Eze in there, Elise, even Edouard would go for a fee even now. You know, I think the only players that would stay are the loyal players. I think Klein would stay. I think Mitchell might stay. The back two definitely wouldn't stay. Gahey and Anderson, they would both go. Even the keeper wouldn't stay. Like, do you know what I mean? I think it would take a long time for us to come back up. And you look at Brighton and you're like, they came up 4 years after us. And it's not panned out well. Like, for us, I'm talking. Brighton came up, steadied the ship, had a couple of average seasons. Now they're looking at Europe. I mean, if you look at the Premier League table, right, it's absolutely laughable how much Brighton are ahead of us right now. Like, if you look at the form sheet, if, let's just say, for argument's sake, that Brighton beat us by more than hang on. Yeah, Liverpool scored more goals than Brighton. So, yeah, if Brighton were to beat Palace by 5 or more, they'd go up to 6th in the league with a win. That's Europa League places. And they're in the FA Cup quarter-final as well. And they're against the League 2 team in the quarter-finals against Grimsby Town. So they're probably going to make Wembley as well. How sickening is that? We're currently 12th place, 5 points clear of the bottom 3, without a win since December the 31st. 9 goals from open play all season, and our rivals are currently 7th in the league. In the Conference League place, are doing really well. 1 game away against a League 2 team from making Wembley in the FA Cup. Probably going to be in Europe in some kind of competition next season, and we're just going to be either, let's be honest, right? If we finish 16th or 17th this season, then our aim next season is just to stay up and make sure that don't happen again. It's not going to be in terms of, top half. Unless if there was a miracle and we went out and signed some good players. Because the only good player that we signed in the summer window was Decore. In the winter window, we signed Ahamada and Lokonga. I kind of wish we signed Lokonga on the permanent because Ahamada, we signed him for 10.5 million and he's hardly getting a look in. He is hardly getting a look in at this point. Like I said before, it's embarrassing and it's degrading to watch. When you look at even the teams directly above us, forget Chelsea, they're a Champions League team, they're in the Champions League quarter-final, they're 10th having a really poor season. Aston Villa, 8 points clear of us. And also, tomorrow is our game in hand. Tomorrow is our game in hand. This is an opportunity for us to get 1 point, even 3 points greater with the game in hand. We win our game in hand. We're 5 points behind Aston Villa. We'd probably lose to Arsenal. But then we've got Leicester, Leeds. Who we get? We've got Leicester, Leeds, Southampton, Everton, Wolves, West Ham, and then we've got Tottenham, Bournemouth, Fulham, and Forest. Palace fans, like I said in the preview or the review, buckle up. Next season's going to be the same. It might be even worse. If we don't get players in and Wilf goes, we're finished. And in terms of this Brighton game, I'm not looking at it with any optimism. Will Patrick Vieira change his ways in terms of he needs to start Odsonne Edouard, even though Edouard can be lazy at times. I just think that Edouard needs to get given a start. Jordan Ayew is not good enough as a striker. If you want to play him behind Edouard, fine. I think Eze deserves to be dropped now because, he was given an opportunity against Aston Villa, didn't take it. Against Man City, okay, it is Man City, but against Man City, he didn't really show a lot. I think if you play Ayew as a number 8 or a number 10, chuck Wilf out on the left, put Elise on the right, and then put Edouard up front. Then you've got Mateta, Eze on the bench. I think we will be fine in terms of not being battered. I'm not saying we wouldn't lose. I mean, let's look at it, right? Brighton have some excellent players this season. Danny Welbeck, Alexis McAllister, Matoma, Sonny March. Buckle up for tomorrow, Palace fans, because it's not going to be a good ride. Not at all. Not at all. Because, tomorrow's video is either going to be a rant, me saying Vieira out, or me praising this team for the first time this year. How embarrassing is it that, we're in March and we still haven't won? I mean, other people would argue, you look at the games we've had since Bournemouth. Since the Bournemouth win, we've had Tottenham, Southampton in the Cup. That was absolutely unacceptable, that Southampton game in the Cup. We lost against Chelsea, drew against United, drew against Newcastle, lost to United, drew against Brighton, drew against Brentford, drew against Liverpool, lost to Villa, lost to City, and now we're playing Brighton. At the end of the day, it's not good. It's not good. No shots on target for 3 games as well. We haven't even spoken about that. Even if we have a shot on target, I'll be praising this team. It's not good enough from this team's perspective. Absolutely not good enough. It's woeful. It's poor. It's shocking. It's something that I didn't expect to see at the start of the season. At the start of the season, if you'd have told me that you're going to be on 22 points before the World Cup, and then after the World Cup, by March, you'd be on only 27, I'd be having words, mate. I would be having serious words, because it's now getting concerning. I mean, right, I reckon, I'm going to put it out there, I reckon we're going to lose both games. I reckon we're going to lose both of these games, right? Let's see who Wolves have at the weekend. Right, Wolves are at home to Leeds. Even though our record is not good at the moment, I still have faith Vieira can turn things round. Lewis, I admit, it's a very good attitude to have, that you're backing this team. And obviously, I back the team and I back the manager. But if he's not getting the best out of these players, then he has to go. If we want to stay in the Premier League, he has to go. That's it. And we get a caretaker manager in for the rest of the season that can hopefully give these players some kind of bounce for the easier run that we've got left. You look at the teams directly below us. Wolves are at home to Leeds. That'll be a massive game for us in terms of where we go in the league, because I think that if either team get a result, right, so if Wolves win, they go above us. If Wolves draw, they go above us. If Leeds win, look at Leeds. Leeds are 19th in the league. If they win against Wolves, they are 1 point behind us. I lost faith in the manager when we lost 4-0 to Spurs in the second half. Mate, that was atrocious. Tottenham might be a Champions League level team, but it's not good enough. It's so not good enough. Right, we look at Nottingham Forest, because if they win, they go above us. Right, Nottingham Forest are at home to Newcastle on the 17th of March, on Friday night football. I actually think that could be a big game for Forest, because Newcastle haven't been on the best of form this year. I think the win against Wolves was their first win in a while. Who else can go above us? Everton can go above us. Who are they playing? Like, they're away against Chelsea. They could, they could get a result there. Even though Chelsea are on a bit of a run, Chelsea against Everton, that could be a really good game at Stamford Bridge in terms of Everton. Well, as far as Everton are concerned, Leicester could go above us because they're beating us on goal difference. Leicester are away against Brentford. They could get a result there. You never know. West Ham. West Ham would go above us, actually. West Ham would also go above us because they're beating us on goal difference as well. Right? West Ham are playing... Oh, they're not playing anyone, actually, because their game against Man City has been postponed because of the FA Cup quarter-finals. So West Ham aren't playing. So no matter what happens, we won't go... West Ham can't go above us. That's a dead cert. Even Bournemouth could go level on points with us. And they're away against Aston Villa. You never know, they could get something there. And you've got Leeds, they're playing Wolves, and Southampton are playing Brentford tomorrow night, and then Tottenham on Saturday. Guys, we could be in this bottom three. We could be in this bottom three by the end of the weekend. And if so, get Patrick Vieira out of this club, because we have to. Let's be honest, right? If we had one win in 15 at the start of the season, would Patrick Vieira still be in the job? No. If we was in October, November, and after 15 games, we are on 5 points, that's bottom three. Instantly, after 15 games, we've got 5 points. It's just not acceptable. It is not acceptable. It's so bad. You know, the team that he's playing out on that pitch was so bad. I mean, you've only got to look at our lineup against Man City and you're like, what are you doing, mate? I know we lost 1-0 when it was a stupid giveaway from Michael Elise for the penalty, right? But you look at our stats. 4 shots, none on target, 32% possession. That reminds me of Roy days. That genuine... And you look at the lineup. Apparently it was a 4-3-3. Guaita in nets. We have had a tough run of fixtures and picked up decent results. But if it was the Palace of last season, would we be 5 points in them 15 games? Answer that question. If we were the Palace of last season with the same team, same gameplay, same fresh new manager, would you be saying that we'd have 5 points out of 15 games? Mate, we're finished. We are finished. This season's over. How teams have managed to climb towards us and we've done absolutely nothing to deal with it. Absolutely nothing. We've not helped ourselves, even in games that we could have won. Brentford, let's say, for example, that was bad. That was the worst one, I think. Brentford, where we had the lead and then threw it away like that. Villa, we didn't even try. Brighton, we were so lucky to get a point. Newcastle was because they couldn't score goals at that time. We were so lucky with that one. Man United at home was because they switched off in the second half. Man United away, I thought, wasn't great. I thought, you know, we just gave up as soon as they scored, and it took United to go down to 10 men for us to actually give a hoot, really. So I looked at this team against Man City. Why is Luka playing? Haaland is a machine. I know Haaland's an absolute machine. What is he now? 30 goals this season. Is it 30 goals now this season for Erling Haaland because he scored twice against Leipzig tonight in the Champions League? It's absolutely shocking, really. You know, I knew Haaland would have an impact, but I didn't know he'd have this much of an impact. If he keeps going on like this, then he's going to turn into a Premier League legend. He'll have the Golden Boot by next season. Not the Golden Boot. He'll be in the 100 club by next season. He scored 5. Who would you have played against instead of Luca? Well, my friend, if you look at this starting lineup, right, I can't say Jeffrey Schlupp because he was already playing. But if I look on this bench right now, Riedewald. I would genuinely say Riedewald. I don't know what Riedewald has done in training to not warrant any game time whatsoever. I think Riedewald is a better player than Milivojevic. He drives the ball forward. Riedewald is a B-Tech to Corey, in my opinion. That's just my opinion. I don't know what Riedewald has done to not warrant any game time at all. I think the last time he came on was in the 0-0 draw against Leicester back in October. To be fair, I did think Will Hughes was on this bench. I was going to say Will Hughes. Ahamada's not a defensive midfielder. I'd have to agree with that one, but I would have started Maka if he was fit. Well, MacArthur wasn't even on the bench. On the bench was Ward, Tompkins, Eze, Mateta, Edward, Richards, Ahamada, Whitworth, and Riedewald. Yeah, I genuinely say Riedewald. Like, I want to go to Palace and just watch a training session because, oh my God, how bad must Riedewald be to not get a start this season? I remember Roy's last season. Riedewald was brilliant. Like, Riedewald was just an absolutely brilliant player under Roy for the final season. I actually really rated him. I remember doing clips before this channel came about. I remember doing clips about Riedewald saying that he is at the time a solid defensive midfielder. Now Vieira's come in. I remember he started him against Chelsea in the first game of the season last year. Completely dumped him off the team, pretty much. I feel sorry for him. I really do. Like, I looked at Luke, honestly, because the way my life is now on a Saturday, I looked at that team as I was going into work, and I was like, Luca, really? Yeah. Like, Luca's just really bang average at this point. And, you know, that's why I don't think he wanted to start. But anyway, Luca's not the main issue, right? I don't get why Jordan Ayew was still playing up front as well against a strong defence like Ruben Diaz and Manuel Akanji. I believe that Riedewald came off the bench against Leicester away. Yeah, that's what I just said. I believe that's the only time he played. Well, I mean, can I delve into Riedewald's stats? Well, now Decore's back because it was a one-game suspension. I don't think that he's going to get a look in at all. He probably won't even make the bench now. And I feel sorry for him because I do see potential in Riedewald. But obviously Vieira doesn't. This season he's made 4 appearances off the bench. 4 appearances off the bench, and he played in the Carabao Cup. So he's made 5 appearances this season in all competitions. Can I look at the games that he did play? Oh, it took me on some random link. But at the end of the day, I don't know what Riedewald has done. Yeah, it's bloody 6-0 to Man City, with Haaland getting 5 of them and Gundogan as well. That is just shocking. Imagine if there was a fantasy team for Champions League. I reckon there is in certain areas, but that's just impressive, really impressive. Excuse me, really impressive. Burnley fans must be looking at that and going, "Well, I'm not going to." Sorry, got hiccups. I'm not going to shout out your friend. Haaland could score 2 hat-tricks in one game. He could at this point. I mean, there's still 12 minutes to go. Is he still on the pitch? No, he went off. He went off for, must have been Alvarez. Probably, yeah, Alvarez or Mahrez or Foden, one of them. Timo Werner's playing in this game as well. Mate, Timo Werner's career has just gone down the Swanee. Yeah, it's still 6-0. But it's a very bad situation that we're in. And to round things up, guys, this is going to be 35 minutes. I'm not going to make it any longer than that. Brighton tomorrow, I think my prediction is going to be, who do you think should come in if Vieira does get sacked? Well, this is the trouble, because we're on a tight budget. I don't think a month and a half warrants a new manager to come in and then leave at the end of the season. And also, though, as well, if Palace, I highly doubt it, but if we got in a good manager with the budget that we've got and went down still, he wouldn't stay. So that would make more of a mockery of us. I think there's 2 managers. Let me just check on Google if he has a job elsewhere. Because I've not heard any Palace fans speak about him since. No, he's not. Right, he's not in the job now. Right? You think Ole Gunnar Solskjaer? Really? You think Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is going to come in and possibly leave at the end of the season? I think Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, no. I'd say Ralph Hasenhüttl. I don't think anyone's mentioned him yet. I think Ralph Hasenhüttl would get some good out of these players. Or Marcelo Bielsa, if you're really pushing it. But I just don't think he would turn up. I don't think he would because of the poor. I mean, I've heard people mention Thomas Tuchel and Mauricio Pochettino. No chance. Absolutely no chance. I think it's either going to be Hasenhüttl or Bielsa or Big Sam. Well, you want to have Big Sam back again. Frank Lampard. He was one of our favourites to join the club before Vieira. I'm also thinking, what about Nuno Espirito Santo? Is he in the job? You know, I think Big Sam's right at the very bottom. But I don't want him back. Yes, he got some good results. I don't think Pochettino would want to come to Palace. No, that's what I'm saying. Nor would Thomas Tuchel. 100% no, he wouldn't. That'd be a massive downgrade in terms of his status and his career. I think Ralph Hasenhüttl will be a good shout. Big Sam or Lampard? Really? You guys are going against me on this one. Right, Lewis. Okay, right. So you think better than who? Who are you referring to? Because I'm not going to say anything actually. Who are you referring to in terms of Vieira's better than X? Let me check if it's. Well, in the meantime, let me just check if it is still. Yeah, still 6-0. That is unbelievable. Haaland scoring 5 goals. That's going to be all over social media by the time I finish this. Lampard, Gerrard. No one's actually brought up Gerrard, to be fair. Hasenhüttl. it's hard to compare them. It's hard to compare Lampard with Vieira because Lampard came in to save Everton, and even though it wasn't the cleanest of ways he done it, he still managed to do it. Do you think Steven Gerrard would do a good job? I need Matoma to score. I have him in my FPL. I have no Brighton players or Palace players in my team. I literally have Burmo playing tomorrow night. I would like Gerrard in the job. I think Gerrard would be a decent shout, but would he come to Palace? I mean, there are a few possibilities. You've got Hasenhüttl, Lampard, Gerrard. People have been talking about Big Sam, Bielsa. But at the end of the day, there's other managers available from different countries as well. So we haven't actually taken them into account. So going back to your question about who would you bring in, as if you're saying no one. Oliver says, Hasenhüttl may be only solid option. None of this will steal stuff. I don't know what you mean by that. Carrick, I think, is still too early too. Gerrard and Lampard, I'd rather stick with PV. Yeah, I just think Hasenhüttl will be a bit of an upgrade because he has experience, and Southampton have been in trouble before under Hasenhüttl, and they've got them out of trouble with very tough run of games coming. I think if we had Hasenhüttl win the job, I'm not expecting, if we got rid of him and then got him before Arsenal, I'm not saying against Arsenal that he'd come in and work magic. But if we brought in the new manager for the international break, not many players will be going out to play in the international games that are coming up. I don't want to lose 9-0. Yeah, to be fair though, you have got a point there. Right, guys, I'm going to end the live stream there. Why has my account got an exclamation mark next to it? Oh, okay. Has Roy retired? I don't know. Right, guys, I'm going to end the live here. Hope you enjoyed it. You can always come back on my YouTube channel and watch this particular live stream. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you guys tomorrow for the rant or a very, a very rare time where I'm actually saying praise to this team.